What is up, guys? TEJ here, and in my hands I have what might just be one of the most interesting golf club designs of 2023, so let's talk about it. Right, guys, so in my hands, I have the Foreward Golf number 2 iron. And Foreward Golf is a golf company out of California, and they specialize in fitting, but they also just recently started making irons. And the different thing about Foreward Golf is they're not your traditional fitters. They're not just fitting you for a head and a shaft. One of the main focuses of Foreward Golf is fitting you into the proper sole design, meaning that they have 3 different iron heads in their lineup. They have a high bounce, a medium bounce, and a low bounce. And one of their main goals is to make sure that you leave with a golf club that has the proper amount of bounce for your game, so you get the most consistent turf interaction and in turn launch and spin conditions, so you can go out and shoot your lowest scores. Now, I went through a remote fitting with Chad Dietz, and basically what we did is he sent me his remote fitting kit. I went through it, took me about an hour and a half, fit me for 8 different parameters, and that is what we have here. We have the Foreward Golf number 2 head, which is going to be the medium bounce head. So I believe this 7-iron has 4.5 degrees of bounce. And in terms of the overall build, we have a Fujikura Axiom 105X shaft, 1/2 inch short, 1.5 degrees flat, swing weight of D5, and we have a Golf Pride Z grip cord grip on this club. Now, I don't want to focus on the overall build in this video because I'm very particular when it comes to my clubs, and I really like what I'm currently playing in terms of shafts. But this is what Chad wanted to build me. He thought that this would fit me the best, so I let him go ahead and do that. But in this video, I really want to focus on the head itself. This thing intrigued me for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, one of the main things is going to be the sole design itself. Given the fact that I've been looking for something with a little bit more bounce, and this has it, I'm very curious to see how this performs in terms of turf interaction. How does this thing feel? Is this something that could compete with some of the top OEMs in the game? I'm very excited to test this thing. I think it's going to be really fun. No real claims here, just going to be curious to see how this thing performs. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Right, guys, so as you can see, I've warmed up, feeling good, and the way we're going to work through this testing is we're going to start with my current gamer Titleist 620 MB, and then we'll move up into the Foreward Golf number 2 medium bounce iron. So let's just go ahead and get started. My Titleist 620 MB, very classic shape, straight top line, straight leading edge, a little bit of rounded toe area. There's a little bit more offset on my 620 MB in comparison to the stock one because mine is bent 1 degree strong, but as a whole, it looks really good to me. The one real complaint I have about this iron, I would say, is the bounce itself. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Foreward Golf compares to this, but I felt like my 620s do have slightly too low of bounce for me, and occasionally because of that, the leading edge kind of gets quickly into the ground, and I catch it a little bit high on the face, which is just not great from a launch and spin perspective. And the nice thing about playing blades is it doesn't get excessively bad. Like if you're playing a player's distance iron, sometimes if you high face one, it just comes out with no spin and flies the green. This does stay pretty consistent from a carry perspective, but it is still something that annoys me. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and gauge some numbers for you guys and see what we got. 123, 170, 16.7 launch, 7,000 spin. That's an example of one where the iron just got a little bit too quick into the ground. For me, when that happens, that launch comes up a little bit. And, you know, as I said, the beauty of playing a blade is it never really gets excessively off in terms of carry, but it's a little annoying. There's really no other way to put it. But I mean, for the most part, I can't really complain a lot about these 620s because it's tight draws all day. We're at 126 ball, 173 carry, 7,100 spin, 16.2 launch. Yeah, I mean, I would say these irons have given me more of a net positive than a net negative, absolutely. But when you're an equipment junkie, when you're trying to get better, you're always searching for something that is a little bit better. And so because of that, just looking for a little bit more bounce. Yeah, I mean, it's like, of course I complain about them, and then all I do is hit like 10-foot draws. 125 ball, 174 carry, 6,700, 15.2 launch. They're good irons. They really are. They've served me well. That was a pull. 126, 175, 14.6 launch, 6,900. In terms of numbers for me, solid. I mean, it's just super solid. It's very consistent around 125 ball, around 173, 175 carry. It's a little bit cold today. Around 15 launch. Sometimes it gets a little low, sometimes it gets a little bit high, and around 7,000 spin. But, you know, just kind of talking back about the launch, I mean, I do wish it was more consistent. You know, that one was 14.6. I think the highest we had was 16.7. So that's 2 degrees difference in launch. And while some of that's going to be on me, the player, I do think some of that just comes down to the fact that these probably don't have quite enough bounce for my game. So that's what we got in terms of numbers. Let's go ahead and move up into the Foreward Golf number 2. So first and foremost, looking at the soles of these irons, the Foreward Golf is obviously going to have a little bit of a wider sole. Both have a leading edge grind that actually looks quite similar, to be honest. In terms of the backing, obviously they're just different. This is a CB, this is an MB, so the Foreward is just going to be a little bit thicker looking in the back, a little bit more forgiving looking in the back, if you will. At address, the shapes are actually quite similar, I gotta be honest. The real difference that I'm noticing, obviously, maybe a slightly thicker top line, slightly bigger head in the Foreward, but I think it looks really good. The proportions are actually really nicely done, and the Foreward has less offset than my Titleist 620, which I really like. I don't mind offset as long as it's progressive and consistent. I think I've mentioned that in videos that I've done before this one, but for me, if I could choose, I do just really like the look of less offset. It's something that I think is just a little bit more visually appealing. So from a looks perspective at address, this Foreward is, quite frankly, it's absolutely nailed. The blade length is really well done. It's not too short, which is something that I don't like. I prefer a little bit longer blade length. This is going to be the satin chrome finish. They have 4 different finishes, if I'm not mistaken. I think they have satin, black, champagne, and bronze. So 4 different finishes. I really like the satin chrome. I just think it looks the simplest and the cleanest. But yeah, that's what we got from a looks perspective. Let's go ahead and hit this thing and see what we got. So thin that right off the bat, but feel really nice and soft. The one real complaint I have with my 620, aside from the fact that it has a little bit too low a bounce, is it just doesn't feel that soft. This one, on the other hand, although I thinned that, to me it felt just as soft as a 620 on a thin shot. So that's really promising from a feel perspective. In terms of numbers, 126 ball, 178 carry, 15.3 launch, so really good from a launch perspective, and 6,200 spin. Now I caught that a little bit low on the face. Not the best numbers, but not a bad start nonetheless. We do have to take it a little bit with a grain of salt, just given spin and stuff, because this is not the exact shaft that I probably would play in these irons. I really like my AMTs, and I kind of think I'm probably going to stick with them moving into 2024, even if I change heads. Really love the look of this thing. I mean, just super clean. That was flush. That was as flush as it gets right there. 126 ball, 172 carry, 7,300 spin, 15.8 launch, and that's what I like. Thin shot and a flush shot, very close in terms of launch angle. I think maybe we were a half a degree different. Spin was a little bit low on the last one, but again, I think that is playing more in part due to the shaft than it is the actual bounce of the club or the design of the head. Once again, flushed. 125, 174, 6,600, 15 launch. Really consistent in terms of launch. 125 ball speed, 174 carry. In terms of feel, those flushed ones feel amazing. And that's the beautiful thing about having the right amount of bounce, is now you're catching it in the right spot on the face. You're not catching it too high. You're not catching it too low. And because of that, feel's going to improve. And it seems like launch is improving right off the bat. So honestly, the thing that's really surprising me is the feel. Because, you know, when you get these forged golf clubs, a lot of times forged heads that are sourced from overseas, they can get a little bit wonky in the feel department, but this feels phenomenal. Really does. I believe the material's 1020 carbon, so should feel pretty soft, but I mean, this might be one of the softest CBs I've hit in recent history, and I say that genuinely. Like, it's very soft. A little bit thin there. 14.6 launch, 6,500, 126 ball, 177 carry. All right, so like that was a mishit. That was a really bad mishit, to be honest. I got that leading edge quick into the ground, high faced it, 17.4 launch, 120 ball, 167 carry, 6,200. I can't blame the club for that. I'm gonna be honest, that's 100% on me right there. But I mean, that's the only thing that I'm not maybe over the moon about with graphite quite yet in irons, is it just doesn't deflect quite the same through the turf. And so for me, I feel like I'm losing it a little bit. I'm gonna be honest. 14.4, 125, 174, 6,600, really solid numbers. And for me, the turf interaction when I'm making a good swing has been super solid. I mean, you can just see how small the divots are, it seems like. I'm not really getting super steep. I'm not really taking excessively large divots, which is huge because, you know, when I'm traveling and I'm playing in softer conditions, firmer conditions, I'm gonna have a lot more control over my turf interaction. I'm not gonna have to worry so much about trying to shallow out or steep in certain conditions to get the golf ball contacting in the right spot on the face. So I think that's a huge positive. Yeah, again, to me, like, that's a big mishit, and I don't blame head there, I blame shaft. I mean, I'm just not quite sold on graphite. 11.3 launch, 123 ball, 174 carry, 5,400 spin. I mean, that's just, to be honest with you, that's just terrible numbers. So I think in terms of the head, I really like it. In terms of the shaft, in terms of the overall fit, I'm just not sold on graphite. The beauty of the Foreward Golf heads is it's really not about what shaft you get fit into. I mean, I could easily continue to play my AMTs as long as I could find the right bounce angle. I think we would be dialed in. So I don't know if that means I would have to go to a little bit more bounce, or I could stick with the number 2 head. Maybe I'd have to go to the number 3 or the higher bounce one. But I think as a whole, from a head perspective, and that's really what I wanted to focus on in this video, this thing is very well done. Because that was a good one there. And turf interaction, spectacular. Feel, spectacular. 127 ball, 177 carry, 15.8 launch, 6,600 spin. So I mean, that is the numbers that I'm seeing. That is the feel I'm seeing. That is the turf interaction I'm seeing for the most part with this Foreward Golf head. As a whole, I think this thing is easily one of the coolest designs of the year. And the reason being is because it's something that nobody ever talks about when it comes to irons. We're always so focused on shaft and head itself that we forget about the small things like sole design that are super, super important. And you know, whether this one's exactly perfect for my game, I'm not 100% sure, probably gonna need more testing, but I think that finding the right head itself is super important. And so, you know, I gotta give a huge shout out to Foreward Golf for really making that a priority in terms of how they're fitting people. The overall Foreward Golf head itself is really good, feels great. If you get the right bounce, the turf interaction, at least in my opinion, is spectacular. I love the fact that we have interchangeable weights. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much what we got. That's a review. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a like. If you have any comments about this iron or general equipment questions, drop them in the comments down below or shoot me a DM via Instagram. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel and you click that notification bell so you are notified anytime that we post a new video. And additionally, make sure you are following us on our other social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Always great content on those channels as well. We'll catch you in the next video. Peace.